Triggers versus cognitive distortions, guys. Ooh, this might trigger you and put you into your own distortion. Dirty texts, dick pics, and boiling over. Stop using boundaries, guys. You have an apology problem. You are holding yourself back. What you can do or what to do when you're not having sex. You've never seen us in action. There is always something that you need to do better. Triggers versus cognitive distortions, guys. Ooh, this might trigger you and put you into your own distortion. All right, Morrow Marriage is our name of our podcast, and I can't believe I said it that way, but welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast.
Cass is the name of my husband. Kathryn is the name of me. Yeah. That's what we do these days, guys.
Guys, first and foremost, I want to thank you for all of your downloads, and a lot of you are leaving reviews and sharing the episodes because you've been fortunate enough to find us. And I mean, I think we got like 10,000 downloads nearly this week alone with everybody just doing your thing, guys. So thank you very much. Triggers versus cognitive distortions, guys. Okay, let's break it down first. I'll talk about triggers. You talk about cognitive distortions, okay? So triggers, first and foremost, you have to understand there's a stimulus, okay? And then there's a gap between the stimulus. That is your trigger and your response or reaction. That is the trigger. That stimulus typically is the trigger where you can either pull it or you can help your partner put the gun down. You have to be in control of yourself. Okay? Now I'll let you build on that and then you can go into cognitive distortions.
Right. So a trigger, the definition, so I love the gun analogy because you have to actually pull it for there to be a reaction.
Right.
But a trigger is when you perceive something to be happening that isn't actually happening. Mm-hmm. So let me give you an example. If you say, my husband yelled at me and that triggered me. Or if he's yelling at you, that's not a trigger. It's actually happening. If your husband used to yell at you and then with the yelling came name calling, so you're not bothered by the yelling, but you'd be bothered by the name calling. If he yells at you and you're getting triggered because you're thinking he might call you a name, now it's a trigger. So you are perceiving the situation to be more dangerous than it actually is because you perceive something is happening that is not happening. And it's from your past, the past in your marriage. It's from something that just isn't happening in the present situation.
And then typically, what do? You fire first.
Yeah, you react to it.
React. That's why Kathryn talks about the crazy train and then getting on it and driving it instead. Right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Good thinking there. So in one of the interventions that I use with my couples, there's part of it where we say we go over the fight that happened. And so it's how to recover from an emotional injury, emotional violence, rather than just pretending it didn't happen or fighting about it again. You identify what the perception was or the perspective was of each person, and then you talk about your own trigger. Could it have been that you got triggered? What can you take responsibility for? And you identify what the trigger was. So sometimes I'll work with couples or I'll work with just a woman and we talk about the potential trigger. If you do not identify it as a trigger and you believe that it actually happened, so you don't say, okay, I was triggered that this might have been happening. I'm recognizing that it didn't happen. That is a trigger. If let's say we have a recording or we have two different perspectives or we have a third party, it can then be viewed as a cognitive distortion. Now, a cognitive distortion, it's defined as those exact words. So in your mind, cognitive distortion. It's a delusion, a distortion. It's something that's twisted from what it actually is.
Hi, my name's Cass, and I used to be Ryan, and I had a lot of those.
Yes. He used to have a lot of cognitive distortions. And so he would hear something that I 100% did not say. But he was convinced in his mind that I did say it. So he's not triggered by what I'm saying. He's actually in a different reality.
Right.
Now, the reason that I wanted to talk about triggers versus cognitive distortions is because both people are going to have a different perspective or a different perception on what happened. Mm-hmm. A woman might say, I said, I want to paint the walls blue. And if the husband gets upset with that because the walls in his house when he was growing up were blue and his parents were abusive, that's a trigger. If he gets upset because she says, I want to paint the walls blue, maybe blue is his least favorite color. He hears, she doesn't love me because she wants the walls blue. You just said you don't care about what color I want the walls. That's a cognitive distortion. That is not what she said. So trigger from something in the past, cognitive distortion, hearing something that just was not said and creating something in your mind. Your wife probably would never want to paint the walls blue because you don't like it. That's malice. Okay, that's not even selfishness. And that's a whole another topic, selfishness versus maliciousness.
I would like you guys to rewind and listen to that again because she's talking about something very easy to understand, very simple, such a good example, honey, because you're talking about the colors of the wall, the abuse, and now we don't love. This is so important because this is happening on a day-to-day basis for so many of you, with one of you or both of you, right?
Because you create in your mind that you think that you know why your partner just said what he or she said, and that automatically could either trigger you, causing you to go into a place of dysregulation, and then you're overwhelmed and flooded, and your prefrontal cortex turns off, your amygdala turns on, and now you're operating with your lizard brain, and we see the way that lizards act, right? So it's really dangerous, because either you do that and you get dysregulated, that's the trigger, or you go into an alternate reality and the story that you've told yourself now becomes true for you, but not actually true. So it's a dangerous place to be, because no matter what, if you're triggered or you are having a cognitive distortion, neither one of those is good. And so I would say the antidote to this is curiosity. So if your partner says something that triggers you, as long as you don't go into a state of full overwhelm and flooding, you can ask for clarification and figure out why your wife said she's going to paint the walls blue.
Hey, baby, what is it that you like about the blue?
That's right. And notice I said a word that's considered an attack word. You want to find out why, but you don't want to say, why do you want to paint the walls blue? Because that invokes a feeling of defensiveness. Okay? I guess it would evoke a feeling of defensiveness and then invoke defensive action. I learned the difference between evoke and invoke lately. Clarified the difference. Anyway, so the antidote is to go in with curiosity. So he said, so what is it that you like about blue? And then your wife has an opportunity to tell you what it is. And it might be because of the furniture in the room. It might be because of something that she saw on Instagram. It's probably not because she knows that you were abused as a child. She didn't mean to trigger you. And then you can connect on it.
She probably would know that story, but
not the blue wall piece.
It's not what you're thinking when you tell a story. Yeah, and we lived in this house with blue walls, and my dad used to pound my head into the wall. That's not what we say.
That's right. That's why it's a trigger for you. Because you go back to a place that often the person that said it doesn't even know that place exists. So you're the only one going back to that place. But if you go in and ask more questions and connect, then you're not going to create that story that your wife is out to get you or your husband. This is obviously a two-way street.
That's right. Now, I'll say something as well. With triggers, the other antidote is reality checks. Okay?
Oh, that is the best. That is the best antidote if you can get to a place of safety. I'll let you explain that.
So ideally, it's your partner. But if you're feeling that triggered, you probably can't, quote unquote, take their word for it yet. Okay? You have to be connected in order to rely on your partner for reality checks. The reason why I can come to Kathryn and go, am I misunderstanding something here? And trust her reality and her perception is because we know my brain's fucked, but I know she loves me. She's not trying to manipulate me. She's on the same team and we're going the same direction. Okay? So if that's the case with your partner right now, if you go back to the last episode, your partner's not on board, that's not a safe place to do that. You also can't just go talk to friends and family that you've known for years. It just doesn't work. Because
they might think negatively of your partner, and then now all of a sudden they're on your team, confirming the deluded reality that you've created for yourself.
Correct. 9 times out of 10, I don't have that stat actually, but a lot of the time you're going to get validation and justification for your side when you really don't need it, especially if you're trying to clarify reality with people that aren't there. They need to know what they're doing. They need to know how to ask their own questions. So like if you're working with us, for example, we'll ask specific questions. We'll know specifically with the word you say, she mentioned why. We'll know certain things to ask so that we can find out. And quite often, we'll watch you get triggered in the moment. And when we do that, we can reel you in. Okay? So it's really important to get the right kind of support for reality checks because you have to trust them. They have to be moving in the same direction as you. Okay? And they have to support and hold you accountable. That's it. They have to hold you accountable because, go back to what we talk about all the time, you got to be proud of who you are. And if you are being triggered, or if it is a different reality in cognitive distortions, then you're probably not thinking clearly. You're thinking about the lizard brain like Kathryn talked about. Okay?
I think that sums it up.
No way. Cognitive distortions. You absolutely need reality checks for those. Okay? So we can look at you. There's lots more people getting triggered than filtering over to the cognitive distortions. But you won't even understand this until it happens. We're trying to come up with ways to like help people show their partner, like when you know, how long did it take to cross the street, right? I thought Kathryn yelled at me for 15 minutes and she reality checked me and said, question, see what she did? Question, how long does it take to cross the street, hon? I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever it was. She's like, so do you think I was yelling at you?
When did I stop yelling?
Right.
You're like, I don't know, we were in the middle of the street.
Right.
And then you're like, oh.
Click, 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 ding, 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 ding. Okay.
Go back and listen to that episode.
Well, and we mentioned a lot. So it was like the big awareness moment for me, right? And then, of course, there was lots of work to do. But what I'm getting at is it's still very difficult to do that with your partner if they're in that state of either being super triggered and now lizard brain, or if they're in their own reality, especially. I would encourage you to, again, have the right kind of support to be able to guide them through those reality checks if you're trying to do it, okay? Because it's like Kathryn says, you don't tell a narcissist that they're a narcissist. You got to get a whole lot more connected before you can do something like that,
yes.
Okay? So there's steps to take, and it's too many to talk about on the podcast, but just know that you have the power in your reality, and don't try to like videotape your partner secretly and this and that and just try to make everything worse. Figure out the safer way to do things, okay? Because you want to think about the outcome of where you want this to go as you're the one on board and leading, right?
Yes.
Okay. See you next time, guys.
Bye.